Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. With me is Jacob Litton. If it seems like I just talked to you, it is because we got a short turnaround this week because of being on Monday Night Football. So we're still kind of riding high from the Ravens win, and we should not look past this team. The Browns just beat the Packers, as most Lions fans know. They have a really good defense, and defense wins championships, but maybe not when your offense is rated as low as the Browns. So we have a lot to talk about today. We are going to have another Joey on. We had Joey Peterson on last week. We're having Joey O'Donohue from the Browns Report on today, so we'll feature that interview a little bit later on. Hope you guys enjoyed that. But first, Jacob, how are you doing?
I'd be much better if the Tigers were playing better.
Oh my God. That's Debbie Downer stuff, man. I can't even watch it.
Started bringing it up right now, but it's at the forefront of my mind. Obviously, the Lions, the win was great. Things are going really well. The Tigers are just collapsing in the worst way possible. And it's even worse that, now it's the Guardians. I hate the Guardians. We got the whole back and forth with them. We let them catch up. Last night, having Skubal pitch, we weren't able to win that game. It's just not looking good. We're behind as of the time we're recording right now. We are behind 3-1.
Well, if we can't overtake Cleveland in baseball, at least on Sunday we can overtake them in football. So
just take it out on the Browns.
Yeah, it's not the same. I get it. As a Tigers fan, we went through an amazing comeback last season, and it seems like this is the inverse, the exact inverse, like this improbable lead that we've pissed away. But all right, now that you've made me really mad, let's talk about Lions transactions. There was one transaction today. Well, actually, a couple. Jacob, why don't you tell everybody what the Lions did today?
So we signed tight end Ross Dwelley to the active roster from the practice squad. So we had him active last game against Baltimore. He played a few snaps, and now we have signed him to the active roster. We had the spot open from Davenport, so we didn't have to cut or do anything there. But then we did sign a defensive tackle, Quentin Jefferson, to the practice squad. And this guy's a 10-year veteran. He most recently played for the Bills. Didn't play, I don't think he played in any games this season for the Bills. He most recently played for them, but he started off 2024 with the Cleveland Browns. And that's the more noteworthy thing there is. Might just be our strategy this year is that we're going to get a practice squad player that's familiar with the team every week.
It could be. I mean, they have the
We
number
want to
one
know
defense.
how that defensive line works, right? We need somebody that's been inside that room.
Yeah. Worked really well last week with Malik Cunningham. Whatever information we garnered from him seemed to work well. So they figured, let's try it. Let's try this. We got an open spot in the practice squad. Let's do this. We'll see. I mean, I don't know how much we're going to be able to get from him, but it's always good to have some depth down there.
Do you think, I know I talked about how it would be weird for Malik last week, but is it weird for the player when he comes in, he's getting this spot to sign with the Lions? Do you think they're just asking him what signs they use, what they're doing here? Is he just feeding all the intel for this former team? I mean, that's got to be such a weird thing for a player to do because you don't want to come off for, you don't want a reputation like you're a traitor, you're cheating, or you're, anything like that. But at the same time, if they have the same defensive signals as they had last time, then the Lions have an upper hand by learning what those signals are before the game happens.
I'm sure that first of all, I think teams will certainly change their signals. And you also have, this situation is Quentin Jefferson wasn't on the team this year all the way through training camp. So it's not like he's familiar with, what exactly is going on. They're probably trying to garner basic concepts, or philosophies that, we should watch out for Cleveland as opposed to the signal means this. At least that's my guess on it. Now, there are situations where a player gets cut in the midseason and then you pick up that player and they've been they would have a lot more information, and therefore, the team's going to have alternate signals, but I don't think that's the case this year, or with Quentin Jefferson. I don't know. I think at this point, he's a 10-year vet. This is a little different situation than Malik Cunningham. Malik Cunningham is just wanting a roster spot, get a paycheck. So it's either he does, the Lamar scouting, or he, sits on his couch and he doesn't get a paycheck, or, does whatever his other job that he has. Yeah, that's at least what I think on that. You got anything else?
No, I just thought it was for me, it's just a weird dynamic. And obviously they're changing signals and calls and stuff. From week to week, they're not going to do the exact same thing because it'd be too easy to know. But it's got to be similar. And there's a reason why quarterbacks are able to pick up on that stuff, for every team that they play. And middle linebackers are able to pick up on offensive signals and stuff like that. So, it just seems like that would be weird for them.
Yeah. It's the game every team plays, though. Lions aren't the only one to do this. So I think it's just everyone knows, and they have alternate signals and ways around that. The proper thing is do your job and, execute. And usually the team that executes better wins anyway. So even if they knew all your signals, now you can tell any Ohio State fan and they will disagree, because they only beat the reason that, they lost is because Michigan knew all their signals. Right.
Very true.
All right, man. Got my Ohio State shot in. I feel good about myself. Browns, if you don't know, now you know. Defense is number one. They have been stout. They've allowed 68 points, which may sound like a lot, and it's a decent amount, but 41 of that was the Ravens, and most of that was like in the fourth quarter when there was like some turnovers and special teams shenanigans going on. They've only allowed 17 to the Bengals and 10 to the Packers. So they've, outside of like really 1.5 quarters of play, they have not allowed very many points. But however, they're also not scoring points. They are 30th in the league in points scored, 46 points. Jacob, how many did we score against the Bears? 52, right? So
more than 40.
Yeah. We've scored more in one game than they've scored all season, and that gives them the 32nd ranked offense in the league. And Joe Flacco's leading their charge right now. So, and even his stats are pretty poor. So it's really a weird dichotomy of first defense, last offense. So it's all on that defense to shut them down, get a defensive score, get a turnover to get the offense in a scoring position, because long sustained drives are not the Browns' forte right now.
But we saw against Green Bay last week, sometimes that works. Mm-hmm. Keep them at bay long enough, and we're able to steal the game away.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's something when we get to our keys of victory later on, that may play a big part.
Yeah.
At least in mine, I'm sure in yours too. So let's talk about, we talked about the ratings. Let's talk about the section that we call main threats, their offensive and defensive threats. So let's start with the offensive. Jacob, this is a short list, but why don't you tell everybody who we need to watch out on their offense?
It was hard to pick main threats on their offense because there's not anybody listed on there that I genuinely am concerned about stopping. But if we're going off of who they've got, the highest ranked according to Pro Football Focus is the rookie running back Quinshon Judkins. They also have a pretty good offensive lineman, Joel Bitonio. The guard is ranked 6th in Pro Football Focus out of 76 guards. So Bitonio is pretty high. Quinshon Judkins, as of right now, is rated pretty high. You already talked about Flacco, and Njoku is still there. Jerry Jeudy. They've got offensive weapons, offensive players. It just doesn't feel right to call them threats. But for what they lack on the offense, as we've already alluded to, the defense more than makes up for that. And the threats on defense, they actually have 6 players that are ranked in the top 20 of their respective positions. That's really good. That's led by defensive lineman Malik Collins, is rated number 1 for defensive tackles. Myles Garrett, I'm sure that was, everybody's got him circled. He's the biggest threat on the team.
Who is that? I haven't heard of this. Myles Garrett.
He's this guy. Evidently, he's a pretty big edge player. I heard he throws helmets and stuff, so you gotta look out for him. Myles Garrett actually ranks 2nd out of edges right now. Linebacker Devin Bush, who we know from Michigan. Mm-hmm. He signed with the Browns this year. He's rated number 6 for linebackers. They've got a good tandem of safeties. Grant Delpit, rated number 9. Ronnie Hickman Jr. is rated 13. And then linebacker Carson Schwessinger, rated 13th out of 73 linebackers. So, yes, Pro Football Focus highly rated these players. And, I mean, that checks when you look at the scoreboard, when you look at the stats, and when you watch these games. Another noteworthy player, while we're talking about the Michigan connection, Mason Graham, who right now is rated on defensive line. But he's made some impact plays. Obviously, he's a rookie still. So, yeah, a lot of people to worry about on defense for them.
Yes. Yep. And I was shocked when I saw Devin Bush rated that high. Pittsburgh just kind of cast him off. I know he has injury concerns, and he had some of that in Michigan too. But also the rookie Carson Schwessinger, that's a rookie linebacker that's rated up there. So that's
and I believe he was the second. Wasn't he the one that was like right in the beginning of the second round?
Well, I know wasn't Quinshon Judkins. I don't know how many second round picks do the Browns have. But that sounds about right.
He was, second round. Graham was the first round pick. They got Quinshon and Carson in the second round, Dylan Gabriel and Harold Fannin in the third. So actually, they had a lot of draft picks in the first 3 rounds here.
Yes. Yep.
And they're all playing early, with the exception of the quarterback.
That's because they're stuck in cap hell. they got between Myles Garrett and Sean Watson, they had to get some cheaper players. All right. As far as the injury report, the guard that you just mentioned, Joel, how do you say it? Batonio? Is that correct?
Batonio, I don't know.
Okay.
I was just winging it.
All right. Well, you sounded good. So you tricked me, and
it's about the confidence, Jason. Act like you know what you're saying, and then they just go with it.
That's what I do with drug names. Just act like I know what I'm saying, and the customers don't know the difference. He did not practice today, but they're just saying it's more of a rest-related issue. Jack Conklin, their tackle, who's a pretty good tackle for them, has an elbow. He's limited practice. The safety that you mentioned earlier, Grant Delpit, he has a back issue, limited practice. Myles Garrett had limited practice, but that's a rest issue, not an injury-related issue. Mike Hall Jr., one of their defensive tackles, did not practice. Shelby Harris, another defensive tackle, has a hamstring, did not practice. David Njoku, their pretty good tight end, limited practice with a knee. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, has a hand and hip issue. And the big one, at least that I saw in there, Denzel Ward, their star cornerback, shoulder injury, did not practice. So I don't know the extent if this is going to linger, but we have to keep an eye on that because that could definitely impact the game.
Yeah, that's the big one to circle there. They definitely do not want to lose him. I also like how their official injury report had to put on there for Joel and Myles Garrett, not injury-related rest.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to have any suicidal Browns fans if they thought that Myles Garrett and Batonio were not going to play.
Yeah, they don't want some of those content creators wanted to be able to make a video out of it, though, so they screwed them up. All right, as far as the Lions injury report, Taylor Decker's on there again. I think we don't put for rest. I mean, he has a shoulder thing, but it feels like veteran rest for Taylor Decker at this point. Daniel Thomas, our safety, has a forearm issue. He's more of a special teams player. Sione Vaki had left the last game with the Ravens with a groin injury. He did not practice. So I don't know his status going into the game. The other player that did not practice is Al-Quadin Muhammad, which my heart sunk a little bit when I saw that on there. But it was quickly resolved when Justin Rogers talked to him in the locker room and reported on Twitter that Al-Quadin Muhammad told Justin Rogers that he plans on playing on Sunday. So Jeremy Reisman almost had a little heart attack for himself. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but he said, "Oh no, we signed a defensive lineman today for the practice squad and Al-Quadin Muhammad." And Eric's like trying to calm him down, and let's hopefully Jeremy's okay. Derek Barnes showed up on the injury report with a limited practice with a knee. And then DJ Reed, they limited his full practice, had cramping. So I don't think that's because he was limited last week with a knee injury. Obviously played the whole game, played very well the whole game. So I don't think that's going to be anything to really worry about. But big one we'll have to make sure Al-Quadin Muhammad, hopefully he gets a limited practice in. Sione Vaki could be, we'd like to have him on special teams, but Craig was inactive in the last game. So I'm imagining if Vaki doesn't go, then Craig Reynolds is just going to remain active in this upcoming game.
Yeah, it's a shame that for whatever reason, Vaki just injury bug keeps hitting him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like he's compensating because he's had that hamstring issue. They're all like connected, all those soft tissue things. Like you injure one, and then you start favoring something, and then then you keep getting an injury. So I don't know.
Is that ever a spot that you favor your groin over your hamstring while you're running?
Man, I favor my groin. No one's around down there.
Oh man, I set you up for that.
You did. So I don't know if you saw this or not, but the laceration on Jack Campbell. They showed in the telecast that it was like on a block, but it was revealed today. Do you know how he got it? Did you see this on Twitter?
No, I didn't see today.
On Brian Branch's like missed interception, Jack comes up to him and Branch like lays on his back and flips his cleats up, caught him with a cleat in the face. And that's what happened. He got cleated.
Branch getting up, cleated
like
Campbell in the face.
He was disappointed he get the interception, so he kind of rolled on his back and his feet popped up. And Jack was coming over to like console Branch or say
to help
it's okay.
him up or something or whatever.
Yeah, and Branch didn't know he was there, and he was just, I think he was just upset. So he's flipping on his back and putting his feet up in there like in frustration that he didn't make that play and clipped Jack. I saw it on Twitter.
No, I need to go see that.
Yeah,
that sucks.
You see it from afar. At least the view I saw was an all 22 view. So you probably could see it on NFL Pro. Someone caught it, but I think someone probably asked Jack in the locker room today, one of the beat writers, and that's how that story came out. Because during the game, they were saying it was something else. All right. Any of those injuries concern you other than Al-Quadin Muhammad?
No. I mean, I think Decker is just consistently going to be on here for just rest. He's just going to did not practice first day of the week. Hopefully that's what's going on with Barnes too, is just trying to get in some more rest time, limited practice there. The main concern for me was just Vaki. I want him out there, but I want him healthy, and just looks like for one reason or another, it's just not going to happen.
I know. Yeah, I'd rather have him on the kick return team too. Then after Vaki got hurt, you saw who they put in back there. They put in Khalif back on the return team. Got some speed back there. That was interesting.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah. If I were, a team, I would be kicking it away from Khalif. I wouldn't be kicking it to Khalif, whoever else is back there. That at least that's the way I would think about it. I think it's time we move on to our interview with Joey. So we'll do that and we'll hit you on the flip side. We want to welcome Joey O'Donohue from the Browns Report by Chat Sports. They have over 52,000 subs over there. He's spitting out good information for all the Browns fans, and now he's spitting out information for us as Lions fans. So welcome to the show, Joey.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's exciting. We just beat an NFC North opponent, so we'll see if the Browns can put up a good fight against the Lions here Sunday.
Well, we beat an AFC North opponent, so we are, we're helping each other out. That help ends right now. It's not going to happen this weekend, but we could thank each other, and we do appreciate you beating the Packers. That was a pleasant surprise, and it was awesome. Yeah. So Joey is a huge Browns fan. He was telling us, before we got on, he's always been a Browns fan. We, talked about our hardships and all. And so we're Lake Erie brethren here. And but one thing you can be excited about, Joey, is your defense. So it's playing at an extremely high level. We all know Myles Garrett. Who are some other players on this defense that Lions fans may not know the names of that are making this defense go?
Yeah, I think there's a legitimate argument for the Browns defense being the best in football right now. If you look at the statistics, they're first in total defense. So they give up the fewest yards per game through 3 weeks of any team in the NFL at 204.3. So it's pretty much the defensive line as a whole that makes the Browns unit scariest. Obviously, Myles Garrett is playing in a different stratosphere than anyone else in the league this year. But it's Mason Graham, the rookie out of Michigan they drafted, who has been incredible in stopping the run specifically. I mean, Derrick Henry averaged 2 yards a carry against the Browns. Josh Jacobs averaged 1.9 yards a carry. Chase Brown, 2 yards a carry. Like, it's going to be tough sledding for Montgomery and Gibbs as well. It's that defensive line as a run-stopping unit that makes them special. Malik Collins is another one of the most underrated interior pass rushers in the game. Last season, he had one of the best win rates as in the interior. Similarly, Aiden Huntington is a very versatile defensive lineman that they use, had a great preseason, made the roster, and they even line him up at fullback and on special teams. Like, he's someone that can do it all. So defensive line is the biggest strength. And then if you haven't heard the name Carson Swessinger yet, definitely watch his film because he's a legitimate defensive rookie of the year candidate. As a linebacker, he's everywhere on the field. His pursuit's incredible. Like, no matter who catches the ball, if it's a tight end out in the flat, if it's a running back on a screen, he's just booking it to wherever the football is. Like, his nose is incredible. He had a massive sack against Jordan Love, too, last Sunday. So those are some key names I'd watch out for. The only weakness on the defense is probably corner. Like, once you get past Denzel Ward and Newsome, there's a little bit of uncertainty at that nickel spot, that CB3. So, this would be a game where the Lions probably, maybe Jameson Williams has an explosive game, something like that for Detroit to get their offense going. But it's the D-line that makes this defense scariest.
So I watched the Browns-Packers game. I watched a lot of it on Red Zone, was super excited about it. I rewatched it today. Aiden Huntington was a name that stuck out to me. The announcers just kept, mentioning him. And, it's close to our Aiden Hutchinson. So maybe that's why it was sticking in my brain, but I kept hearing him. So yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned him. He's undrafted free agent, correct?
Yeah, it's a great story. UDFA, and he just balled out in camp.
Nice. Denzel Ward, you mentioned him. He showed up on the injury report today. Do you have any feeling on whether that's going to be something that's going to keep him out of this game? Or I know it's early. It's just the first injury report, but I didn't know if you had any information on that.
Yeah, he didn't practice today, Wednesday. This is different from when he left the Ravens game. That was cramps. They listed this as shoulder/toe. I think it's precautionary. If we get more information, obviously we will report it immediately, but I don't see it being super serious. Otherwise, it'd be something that, Stefanski says, yeah, it's not looking great. It seems like they're just resting him Wednesday. He's got an injury history as it is. So I think it's precautionary. Cleveland is going to need him out there. Like I said, corner depth beyond him is not great. So hopefully it's not serious at all, but I don't think it is.
Okay. All right, Jacob.
Key to that's also giving our quarterback time to throw the ball. So if the defensive line's crashing in too hard and Goff can't get rid of it, then the corner play is not as necessary, I guess. Somebody that you didn't mention, though, that we know, Devin Bush, linebacker out of Michigan. So he was kind of cast off by the Steelers. There's the injury to JOK, and all of a sudden now Bush is a starter, and Pro Football Focus has him rated the 6th best linebacker so far. So in your opinion, how has he looked for the Browns so far?
Yeah, Bush has been a surprisingly great piece for Cleveland. Like you said, used to play for a rival in Pittsburgh, and he had a high profile coming out of college, just kind of didn't work out with the Steelers. Now, he's been a tackling machine for Cleveland. He's always been towards the top of the box score in terms of total tackles. He's been pretty good on the field as well. We thought without JOK this year, it would be tough sledding for Cleveland's linebacker room. But with the addition of Swessinger and Bush, they've really held it down well out there. So I liked a lot what I've seen from Devin Bush. I think his main strength, like I've said, what I've seen so far is his tackling. And that's something that, people try to knock Denzel Ward for, other members of the Browns secondary. Well, if our linebackers can hold it on and match up with tight ends, guys bigger than them, that's going to be something that helps Cleveland's defense a lot going forward. So Bush, great piece as well.
Nice. All right. You've mentioned the defense, number one on PFF, just playing great. The offense, however, is at the other end of that spectrum right now. Do you see this offense getting better as the season goes on, or is what you see is what you get? So what do you think is going to happen? Is there any players that need to develop, or are you just stuck with this until either Watson comes back or something, big switch?
Yeah, the offense is terrible. It's one of the most interesting contrasts in all of the league right now. You have a defense that's arguably top 5, and you have an offense that's arguably bottom 5. I don't know if we've seen that in the NFL in recent years, and it's kind of been frustrating to watch from a Browns reporter and fan standpoint. Like, we have a defense that, with any competent offense or quarterback, this would be a clear contending team. But the offense is so bad that I feel like we're wasting how good our defense is by not producing on the other end of the field. So Flacco's clearly lost a step. He can't move. And that's not me just saying it because he's 40. If you watch the games, when he runs, it looks comical compared to every other athlete on the field. He's got to stay in the pocket. And unfortunately, it limits the Browns' play calling because let's say they want to run an RPO, they're really just running RPs. Like, there's no option. No team is accounting for Flacco to pull it and run. So they're immediately going to the running back, and it's kind of limiting what Stefanski can do. And a lot of people have been getting on his play calling as a whole in general. So it's making our offense stagnant. He's missing guys as well. Week 1 wasn't bad, but since then it's just been awful, and they haven't moved the ball down the field. So what I think is this continues for a few weeks, and then there's no choice but to bench Joe Flacco for Dylan Gabriel and eventually Shedeur Sanders later in the season. They have Gabriel second on the depth chart. Stefanski and the Browns front office not only drafted him ahead of Shedeur, but also seemed to like his camp better, seemed to like his preseason as well. They gave him all the reps as the number 2. That's what it is going forward. A lot of fans are calling for Shedeur Sanders to start. They don't think he's getting a fair shot. It's a hot topic I'm sure you've seen on social media. I think there's no way that they're going to change their order, but I would say that to the Shedeur fans that there's a chance we see him later in the season. I think if this continues past the London game, if you get like 6 or 7 weeks of this poor offense, that should be enough sample size to say we can bench Flacco and move on to Gabriel. Gabriel's got like 4 to 6 games to prove that he can be the guy. If he sucks, we're going to see Shedeur later in the season. So it's not really it shouldn't be a matter of if, it should be when. Because like I said, the defense is playing so well, we can't afford to waste it. They're getting older. We don't know if we'll have this whole unit together next season. If the offense is this bad, something needs to change while we have a defense like this in Cleveland.
Do you think that if they put Dylan Gabriel in, does the offense have the weapons to make him, to be able to allow him to be successful, that you would see that much of a change from Joe Flacco? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, it's a great question because the offensive line has also been terrible. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but that's probably the biggest issue of why our offense looks bad, because not only is Flacco missing throws, but he doesn't really have time to throw on a lot of his plays. Quinshon Judkins has been the one bright spot, as well as Harold Fannin Jr., the 2 rookies. They've showed out. Judkins is averaging over 5 yards a carry, which is remarkable in 2 games, behind a bad offensive line. Gabriel or Shedeur, if they get thrown in behind this same offensive line, it probably won't look as pretty as well. But their schedule is tough for the first 5-6 games up until they play Miami. They're going against a lot of tough defenses, right? They played the Packers. They played the Ravens. They're going to play the Lions next. Like, they're playing the Vikings. All good defenses. So I think that's why Cleveland didn't go out and start either rookie right away, because to your point, it might have looked bad no matter who's who's under center for Cleveland. But I do think that both of them are more mobile than Flacco and open up a lot of opportunities for the Browns. Like, they can actually get a little more creative. They can actually extend plays with their legs. Flacco can't move. Once he's pressured, he's got to get rid of it or he'll take a sack. I bet Shedeur could at least move out of the pocket, slide to the right, and start extending plays. We saw him do that in preseason week 1. Same with Gabriel. They're at least a little bit more mobile. So I don't know if it would look a whole lot better. But at that point, Flacco's clearly not the answer for the future. He's here for a year. He's 40 years old. So evaluate what you have in the rookies, even if it looks similar. See if we can start to get them NFL ready, because you drafted 2 rookies. We're going to need a guy for the future.
Do you think that was always the plan, though? Because they had Pickett, right? And then they shipped Pickett out of town. You think that was always like, we're going to let Flacco have a couple weeks and give it time? Or do you think that Stefanski and the Browns just really had confidence that Flacco was going to be able to get some wins out of it early on?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Flacco was always going to be their week 1 starter, it seems like. And Pickett, I remember I was doing videos on this and I was saying, I have no idea why Pickett's on the roster. It makes no sense. Like either develop a rookie or go with the veteran. I don't know what Pickett's doing second on our depth chart. Like we're just never going to see the rookie we drafted. So I was glad they traded him out of there. And they genuinely thought that Flacco gives them the best chance to win. And I thought that week one as well. Going into the season, it makes sense. Flacco's the best option. But based on what I've seen the past 2 weeks, it's getting clear that he's not going to give you a good chance to win football games. And so we're going to need to evaluate the rookies that we have at some point, because if they start losing more and more games and they're looking at high draft picks, well, now what? Are you going to draft a quarterback when you haven't seen the two you just drafted play? So I think it's only a matter of time before they actually get in there and Cleveland can finally do an evaluation on both rookies that they drafted.
You had said the offensive line was poor. Now you're dealing with some injuries too. How is that affecting the situation that you got going on there?
Yeah, so DeJuan Jones, our starting left tackle, has been placed on season-ending IR, and they went out. They signed a big tackle to replace him today, a former Las Vegas Raider, and he was on the Patriots practice squad. But it's banged up. Jack Conklin hasn't played in 2 weeks. He's our other starting right tackle, and it's an aging offensive line. It just hasn't looked like it did a few years ago. I think people forget Cleveland had one of the best offensive lines in the league when Nick Chubb was running like he was, averaging 5 yards a carry. That was partly because of our great offensive line. For some reason, it's not looking like that same unit, even though it has some of the same players like Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. So not only is it injured, but it lacks depth. And now we just lost DeJuan Jones. So that is something that concerns me. Is, if I'm not mistaken, the Lions sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times last Monday night. He's probably one of the hardest quarterbacks to sack. And now they're going to play a Browns offensive line that's been bad, is banged up, and as I've repeatedly said, a guy that can't move and extend plays. So this is probably the scariest matchup for me, is Aiden Hutchinson and that Lions defensive front facing a Browns offensive line that is hurt. This is something Detroit can exploit. And what's so interesting about the match as a whole is, this might be arguably the best defensive football for Cleveland. The Lions might have arguably the best offense in the league. They're certainly one of the top ones in the NFL. So I think that's unfortunately going to outclass the Browns offense. And, it might be a little bit dirty in the first half. A lot of the games for Cleveland have started off slow. Teams, I think, are shocked by how good the Browns unit is as a whole. But I think the Lions offense picks up before the Browns, unfortunately. And that pressure that their line can get past the Browns O-line is a big part of that.
Yeah. I think for the timing of you guys beating the Packers, like right before, we played you guys, like if we were going to ever have a letdown game, it was like, nope, they just beat the Packers. And, we were playing on a short week, obviously, because we played the Ravens. Yeah. So, I mean, you beating the Packers is like perfect just on its own for beating the Packers. Thank you very much. But then it is like say, yeah, you can't forget about this team, because that was one thing I tweeted out. Like you had mentioned about you shutting down both Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, like 2 yards a carry. I mean, those, these are your top tier runners in the NFL. We have, our 2-headed monster, and really that's how we beat the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens had no answer. I have a feeling that their rush defense is not that great. I'm sure Judkins probably had, he got his 5 yards carry. I don't know if he was gashing them like we were gashing them. Mm-hmm. Didn't watch that tape, but yeah. So now, does Judkins go between the tackles, or is he mostly outside? How are they using him?
Yeah, and just to that Ravens point, Judkins was 6 yards a carry against Baltimore. 10 carries, took it for 61. He's a physical part of the tackle runner. He runs right into them, and he's one of the best after contact, funny enough. He's, I believe, second amongst all rookies in yards after contact, and he leads all rookies in rushing yards, but he didn't even play week 1. So he's going to be a star at Cleveland. I'm super excited about him. He's explosive. And like I said, there's a bad offensive line he's playing behind. It hasn't mattered for Quinshon Judkins. So he's clearly the RB1 in Cleveland. They're using him like he's got a very high snap count. They're only bringing in Ford and Sampson on third downs here and there, but he's got that clear RB1 role, and he's been running hard.
Nice. All right, Jacob, I'll let you
And it's a
talk
weird
now.
dynamic, like you said, week one, but he also had that whole thing going on during training camp, and, no one knew when he was even going to be coming to the team. So for him to pick everything up right away, fresh set of legs, and it shows. While we're talking about quarterbacks, I know we kind of hinted that we were going to ask you this already, but where do you think this team would be if they had kept Baker Mayfield? For rewriting history, and they did not get rid of Baker, where would the Browns be right?
Jacob, I think about that every day. I still have a Baker Mayfield Browns jersey. I have text receipts where I text my friends saying Baker's going to be a top 10 quarterback one day. I said, do not trade him. Do not get rid of him. And Cleveland let him go. I was a fan of him. He brought moxie to the team. He charisma. He wanted to win. And he was the first playoff win I actually got to watch as a Browns fan. I wasn't watching in 2002. I was a little young. But 2020, we beat our division rival Steelers. Probably my most electric moment as a Browns fan. Like, it was awesome. So if you put Baker behind there, this is a lock playoff team, in my opinion, because like I said, the defense ranked first in total defense. It's been the story in Cleveland for their entire franchises. We just need a quarterback. We've got guys around the quarterback. We've got maybe the best player in all of football. In my opinion, definitely the best defensive player in the league. A top 5 corner, like one of the best tight ends. Judy was top 6 in receiving yards last year. It's like we have everything except the most important thing. And so I think Baker would really take it the way on about that.
Yeah, there was talk like when Jared Goff was our bridge quarterback, there was people screaming for getting Baker and in Detroit at that time, and he would have fit with the Dan Campbell, like the grit and just like that type of thing. I don't know if he's as careful with the football as Jared Goff. So that would have been interesting to get for that. He's more similar to like Matt Stafford, who we have here, just more of a gunslinger type. So at least, that's what I see. But I'm happy for Baker. He was supposed to get a win. If he'd have just took out Seattle the last week of the 22 season, then we would have made the playoffs. So that's the only thing I don't like about Baker when he was with the Rams. Yeah. And then also I didn't like it because he got a Rams win. He got cut from Carolina, came in, and then played like that Thursday night game after being with the team since Tuesday. And that, we would have they gave us a number 6 pick. We would have had a top 5 pick had Baker not come in and played playground football for a little bit and won that game. All right. Let's talk about your coach, Kevin Stefanski. Browns have been stagnant for a while. And, if you had any sort of offense, you would be, a playoff team. Why do you think he's still the coach? Why is the owner sticking with him this long? And is he just holding, till you get another top 5 pick, if that were to happen, top 10 pick this year? And then is he going to be gone, or you think he's going to be here for a while to see these rookie quarterbacks develop?
Yeah, that's also a hot topic for Cleveland Browns fans right now. Like, Stefanski's kind of a roller coaster. He's a 2-time coach of the year, but it's like every other season, it's like an up and down roller coaster. Like, we're in the playoffs and we suck. And then 2023, we make the playoffs. Last year, we entered the NFL draft with the 2nd overall pick. It's like such a weird contrast with Kevin Stefanski seasons. And I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's average. I think he would have, like, if he was to get fired, another team would pick him up immediately. But at the same time, at some point, you have to sit back and say it's not working with Stefanski in Cleveland. I think his play calling has regressed. Like, teams have kind of figured out his scheme. He loves play action. And there were clips surfacing against the Ravens game where it seemed like the Ravens knew exactly what the Browns were going to run. Like, it gets a little boring with Stefanski. I wish he would utilize some of our weapons a little bit more. They're starting to get Isaiah Bonded in the mix, who's got blazing speed. Judkins, Dylan Sampson, who's great in open field. You have Njoku and Fannin. I would like a little more 2 tight end sets. A lot of times they do put them both out on the field, but like, there's so much you could do with a lot of the young stars that we have. And I haven't loved his play calling till week 3. Like I said, the offense has been dripping. So I think he's on the hot seat. If there's a losing season, less than 5 wins, I don't think he's in Cleveland after this year. Maybe he's on a 1 or 2 year leash for me of bad seasons from the Browns front office standpoint. Now, if they can get closer to thinking like 500 this year with that defense that they got, Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator, the only coach that should be locked in Cleveland. I think he's done a great job with the defense over the last few years. But Stefanski on the hot seat. If there's another losing season this year, I'm calling for him to be fired.
Yeah, he had that season in 2020, make the playoffs. Then he's got 2 years of almost 500, 8, 9, 7, 10. Then the next year they go 11-6, make the playoffs again. But then the 3-14 season last year, I mean, it was surprising to me that they even brought him back again. But then, here we go, we're doing it again. And from an outsider's standpoint, it's just hard to see him keeping his job again if they have another season like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like if there's another season like last year's, 3 wins, I would be calling for him to lose the job, and I think a lot of Browns fans would at that point.
All right, one last question here. So we always ask just for you to have a general prediction about the game. So it might not be like the final score. It could just be, either a player, an over-under, just anything, any prediction. If you're going to predict something's going to happen in the game, what do you think is going to happen for sure?
Okay, interesting. So not necessarily a direct score prediction.
You don't have to have a score. You don't have to say win, lose. I mean, you can if you want, but it could, specific player to highlight, just something you think is going to happen here.
Okay. I think one thing would be, I got a couple things for you. One, for look out for Jameson Williams. I think, like I said, Cleveland's cornerback depth is lacking. Look out for him to catch a bomb. Don't expect Montgomery and Gibbs to do what they do. I will caution Lions fans with that. Because I gave you the list of star running backs that couldn't run against Cleveland this year. Cleveland's rush defense is ranked first in the NFL statistically as well, in terms of rush yards per game. So it's not going to look like it did against Baltimore. The only thing I would be worried about is Gibbs getting receiving work. Okay, if you're a fantasy football player, he'll still get his PPR points. Montgomery's not going to have a bunch of yards rushing. I'll tell you that. He's probably going to average 2 yards of carry, just like the past few running backs have. That's not to say he might not get goal line touchdown or whatever, but the yards per carry is not going to look good for Montgomery. And then I guess I would lean Lions in this matchup as an unbiased, objective reporter. But when I get on my live stream on Sunday, then there might be some magic in the air. I was feeling it at the start of my live last Sunday. Everyone in my chat was getting hyped up. All the Browns fans were saying Cleveland, and I was like, I'm kind of feeling something right now. I can't even explain it. The stats aren't going to back this up, but I'm picking the Browns. And it was just a miraculous fourth quarter win. We did the Lions that service. We beat Green Bay. It was electric.
Watching it was like, you get the interception. You guys, score the touchdown, and then immediately get a pass interference, and then Tucker Kraft gets down there, and you're just like, this is how it's going to end for the Browns. And then, just like half the games, it seemed like on Sunday, you guys blocked a kick. And that looked like it was going to be a scoop and score for a second. Like, just looking at it live, I was like, oh, it's going to be. And then I was like, please, God, make this kick, for you guys. And, luckily it was, there was no question. That thing was like, I don't know if it's dead center, but it was not anywhere close to the post. So, yeah, thank you very much.
We got you, dude. That was a miracle kick. That was Andre Schmidt, who missed a chip shot against the Bengals on week 1. And we lost that game by 1 point. He missed like a 36-yarder to give us the lead in that game. So he lined up from the logo 55 yards away and drilled it against the Packers. It was just like unbelievable.
Yeah. It's a great feeling, right? We had a guy line up for a 67-yarder on Monday, but he had the distance, but just not enough accuracy. It's hard to do. We wanted to take that record back from the Ravens because they hold it at our stadium the longest ever at 66, and we could have had 67. Theirs was at the end of the game to beat us. Ours would have been at halftime, but we took it to them and beat them anyway, so it was awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Before we head out of here, Joey, why don't you tell everybody where they could find your stuff, and if you got any like game preview stuff, Lions, like more, with Lions information or stuff about the game, why don't you tell them where they could find that too?
Yeah, man, for sure. Appreciate that. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, It's at Joey070. YouTube channel that Jason mentioned is called The Browns Report. We also have an Instagram. It's literally Browns Report IG. And then if you guys are diehard Lions fans, something you'll probably be interested in is we are putting out another Browns Lions preview later this week. I think we're going to put it out this Saturday on the Browns Report YouTube channel. So look out for that. We covered all the ins and outs, everything you need to know about Cleveland and Detroit's matchup. So you guys might be interested in that. It'll be this Saturday probably out on the Browns Report. Yeah, that's me. Thank you guys so much.
And you go live too, right, during the game?
Yeah, we also want to pop in.
Yeah.
We go live for every Browns game, live stream it on YouTube. So, if you guys want to pop in, we get a lot of donations. They're called super chats on YouTube. And I guess if you guys wanted to, we have to show each one that's donated. So I guess if you guys came in and wanted to donate something to troll the Browns fans, so we'd have to put it up.
Nice.
Good idea.
That's great. Joey, you've been great. I don't know, no good luck this week, but like I said, Jacob and I have a lot of Browns fans, around us, and you are like the team that I'll root for in the AFC. So I don't want you to win this week, but after this, you guys could go have a good season.
Appreciate that, man. Likewise, honestly, I have a good friend back home who's a Lions fan, and we've been hoping for a Browns-Lions Super Bowl for years. So maybe one day.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much.
One of us will leave in heartache. I mean, I don't know how we can't both screw up the Super Bowl, right? Maybe the power go out like it did a few years ago and they can't finish the Super Bowl. That would be fitting for a Browns-Lions Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right, Joey. Thank you for joining us. And remember, Browns Report. You can go check them out. And and do a super chat on Sunday when when Montgomery rips off a 50-yard run, you could say, Joey, you said he's going to get 2 yards of carry. He just ripped off a 50-yard run. Here's $2, so I give you my 2 cents worth.
It's true. But thank you guys.
All right. All right, Jacob. We're back. Let's talk keys of victory. How are we going to crack this defense, or how are we going to stop this really mobile quarterback? I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it. So I'll let you start first. What is your first key to victory?
So the first key to victory I have is putting points on the board and trying to keep a comfortable lead. So points may be at a premium in this game. If we're having, just say that we're having the same sort of day that Green Bay had, where, we're not able to get there very often. I think this is a game where if we're in field goal range and it's like 4th and 4, and, some of those situations that we go for most of the time, I think this game may be one where we take the points. We don't want to make the same mistake that Green Bay did. We don't want them, we don't want to keep it close and have them steal the game in the end. I think a key is going to be to keep a 2-possession lead. You got to keep it up by like 10 points or more. So, I mean, if we're already up by that much, maybe we end up going for it on 4th and 4. But I think if it's a close, if it's a 7-point game, I think we may take the points there. But I know that you said that you were holding your breath for every field goal in that last game. So does that make you nervous? Is it going to be worse for you this week because the Browns are the ones that pulled off that block?
No, that was just the theme of the week last week, and I think there'll be a different theme this week. It may be block punts, and then I'll be holding my breath on every punt. Or maybe it'll be backwards passes in a game, like Jared Goff threw one back, whatever. I don't know, whatever the idiosyncrasy for the week will be. It will be different than blocked field goals. I am interested when they interview, because I know they'll talk to Dave Phipp about it. So I'm curious what he saw on tape, whether it was, just something that they noticed because, where they're getting proper leverage or whatever. I'm curious to see if there's a theme about why there were so many block kicks and, what they did in practice to, shore up theirs. Not that we had one block, but, the Browns obviously blocked one last week. We don't want the same thing to happen to us. My first key to victory, and this is as simple as block for Jared Goff. Obviously, Jared Goff is not very mobile. They have an extremely dangerous pass rush. We're going to have to give Jared Goff some time. Maybe we don't have time for deep shots this time, but I want to get the ball out. I think it's going to be important for Jared Goff to to just get the ball out in a timely manner. Your back foot hits on the 3-step drop, 5-step drop, and the ball's out. If it's not, I could trust Jared Goff to throw it away. He's not a guy that, sits there and plays around. If the play's dead, he'll throw it out of bounds or throw it at a player's foot. So I trust that, but our offensive line needs to be on point. It's good that I'm glad that this is at home, so we don't have the crowd noise and the communication. We don't have to really worry about that. We blocked extremely well last week, but this defensive front is way better than the Ravens' defensive front.
Yeah, I've got that in my key also. Just getting the ball out quick. Just don't let JG get susceptible to getting sacked and killing those drives. So do some sort of jet sweep, some end around plays. Throw, an extra screen or so in there if they're overly pursuing. I do think you still have to take a deep shot or two, but you're going to have to be more selective at when we do that. And maybe that doesn't come off of play action unless we're really gashing them on the ground and opens that up. But I do have trust in Jared Goff that he's going to be able to read the defense and see what he's got. And if we're taking those shots, it's going to be, the appropriate time. But overall, you got to do some quick slants, some hitch routes, get the ball on the outside quick.
Yep. You got another one, or
yes,
did I steal yours?
No, that's okay. I got a couple this time. Sustaining drives. So the last game for the Packers had less than 5 plays on 6 of their 10 drives. They got 10 drives, less than 5 plays 6 times. And the Packers actually had one drive where they had like 12 or 13 plays and they still had to punt the ball. So we need to sustain drives. We need to put points on the board, but we really need to limit going 3 and out. That's always a killer, but especially, we hit a couple against Baltimore where there were 3 pass plays and then we're out. I don't think that the first 2 pass plays don't work. Maybe we run it on 3rd and 10. I don't know. We have to do something. We can't just go out there, throw 3 times. Also don't want, like I mentioned before, for Goff to get sacked and kill the drive. If it's 2nd and 1 and we lose 8 yards on a sack, that's a drive killer. So sustaining drives is going to be very important in this one.
Mine is no turnovers. We do not. You saw what happened when, Jordan Love, that turnover at the end of the game. I don't know what he was thinking on that interception. It was terrible. It was just a very bad play. Watching it over and over again, I don't know what he saw or why he threw the ball where he threw it. And
he had been hit several times that game already, and he just wanted to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I still don't understand it. So, and I don't expect Jared Goff to make that similar type mistake, but we just can't turn the ball over, whether it be a fumble, interception. We do not need to give the Browns any field position. And like what you were saying, sustained drives, that doesn't necessarily mean we need a 10-play drive to march down the field. It means get a couple first downs, punt it. If we don't get it, you punt it. When that, we talked about this in the Ravens game. Our punt team is not, whether it's Jack Fox or, the coverage, it hasn't gone hand in hand. Either penalty has screwed that all up. We've let, Grant Stewart got put in a bad position where he basically had to tackle, the rusher because it was going to be blocked. We need to shore all that up because having Flacco come all the way down the field, it's very unlikely they're going to be able to do that if we give them, punt it. Even if we punt it out of the end zone and they got to go 80 yards, we get a touchback, or, if we can get them inside the 20, that's going to be very unlikely for them to have a sustained drive. They're just not built for that. And especially if there's any sort of negative play, like we get a sack. Joe Flacco's thrown 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, so he's obviously prone to throw interceptions. All that stuff can happen. I expect our defense to play really well. It'd be interesting going from like essentially the most mobile quarterback, up in the upper tier, but I would say Lamar is probably the most mobile quarterback, to arguably the least mobile quarterback in this league. Jared Goff and Flacco are probably tied for that honor, I would say. So it'd be interesting, you go from the most mobile to the least mobile. But we just need to play the field position game. So that means getting, 2 or 3 first downs if we get stopped, because this is a very good defense. This offense is going to get stopped, punting it. And, that it means also for me not going for it on 4th down. Like you saw, we're at midfield, 4th and 3. I might just trust our defense on this one and punt it and be on it. With Ravens was totally different. Defense played really well, but that offense is dangerous, one of the best in the league. So you just don't take your chance. The Browns are totally different. That when Dan Campbell says play complementary football, this is exactly what he's talking about. Like, they all work together. They all work in tandem. Your special teams works with your offense. Your offense works with your defense. You set them up to be successful, and that's how you could do that. And yeah, so no turnovers and play the field position game. All right, that's my last keys of victory. Do you have anything else?
I just have one more, and that is to you already kind of talked about it here, but it's to make Flacco's life hell. If we can get 7 sacks against Lamar Jackson and play defense as well as we did on Monday, we should be absolutely terrorizing this team.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to have time to throw the ball. Even if he does, the coverage just needs to be there. They're probably going to have to play the short game as well. They're going to be praying that they can break off a couple of runs and try to sustain some drives. On paper and what we've seen with our team so far, they definitely have their work cut out against them. So, I just want to bring the pressure, keep the heat on them. Don't drop back in the zone and let them pick you apart and rush 3. And, don't let them stay around. Make him run.
I think the rush plan is going to be totally different in this game, obviously, than last week. We're going to be able to over pursue because Flacco's not going to be able to escape. So you don't have to maintain the rush lanes. You could kind of let Hutch go a little bit more. And with this offensive line they're going to throw everything over at Hutch. And that's why you have an El-Quadin Muhammad over on the other side. Whoever else we put over there, Pat O'Connor, they need to win their one-on-ones. They could go crazy because if he escapes out of there, it's not that big of a deal. We don't want to just, over rush and then give him, opportunity to pass, but he's not going to run and screw you and just run for a first down or anything like that. So you got to be sort of disciplined, but you don't have to maintain all your rush lanes in there. Our interior offensive linemen can, instead of crushing the can kind of, they could give it more of a pass rush. Once we've, given up that it's not going to be a run, we could do that. There was so many times that they were running stunts in that Ravens game when I watched the All-22 just to maintain being in the front so their blocker wouldn't push them out of the way. They weren't even trying to necessarily get past their blocker, but they wanted to maintain a position and just keep pushing their blockers straight back. And if their blockers started to get leverage, Tyleek and Reeder would switch spots and just kind of either, just to maintain that position to stay in front of Lamar. This will be a different thing. We still want to crush the can because getting pressure up the middle destroys any quarterback. And then Tyleek can be dangerous knocking passes down. This one might have been your week to pick a Tyleek knockdown pass. Maybe you've already done that. You've carried it over. You're not creative. You just went over this week. Maybe I ruined it for you. I don't know, but
just copy and paste. No, but just I want to see if the defense does look different because not only is it different from last week with the Ravens, but this is the first time we don't have that threat. The Packers, you have Jordan Love. The Bears have Caleb Williams. The Ravens have Lamar. This week is the first time we don't have that threat of a rushing quarterback. So that's something else I was going to bring up was just the chance of Tyleek possibly getting a sack or getting in there. Last week, there were plays where Tyleek, DJ, Roy Lopez, you can look, they have one arm on each of the guys. Like he's not trying to get past them. We're trying to maintain position. We're trying to hold.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be like that this time. You can try to beat them. You can try to get after the quarterback a little more.
I saw someone comparing stats of Micah Parsons and El-Quadin Muhammad. And it was very funny because I think El-Quadin he's close in sacks. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, Micah Parsons has faced Joe Flacco and Jared Goff, for his 2 of his 3 quarterbacks, whereas we've had to face, El-Quadin did play very much in the first game, so Love is kind of out, but he had to face Caleb Williams and Lamar Jackson, guys that just run all around. So it's like you wouldn't expect as many sacks with those type of quarterbacks as opposed to a stationary target like Goff or Flacco. So thought that was interesting to look at those stats and think about the quarterbacks I had faced. And I'm not saying El-Quadin is Micah Parsons, not saying that, but it was just funny. This early stats could kind of tell a little bit of a lie, but it was interesting when I started thinking about the quarterbacks they had faced.
Right, for sure.
All right, let's move on to the Roar Alert. This is a player or unit or something in this game that we think is going to be a game changer, someone that's going to make some noise. I'm going to start with this one. Mine is the linebacker units are going to make a splash play. And by that, I'm going to say they're going to create a turnover.
You keep cheating by picking position groups because it's enhancing your chance of being right.
No, I'm not.
It's fine. It's fine. We're not. This is for fun. We're not keeping score on the roar alerts, but I just want to put it out there. I'm on to you and your position group picking.
Okay. All right. Last game was
Continue.
Campbell, but that was one person.
Yeah,
but
that's
mine
not broad
is,
at all. But okay, sorry.
Yeah. Linebacker group is going to create a turnover. So whether that's an interception or fumble, the linebacking unit, there's going to be a lot of checkdowns. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to punch the ball out, to get in front of, hopefully the pressure is getting to Flacco and he just throws the ball out there. He's careless with the football. I'm going to go with the linebacker unit to create a turnover.
All right. Good pick, I guess. Moving on here. My roar alert, I'm going with Terrion Arnold. I think he needs it. The team needs it. There's talk of Amik getting more playing time because of Terrion's struggles, possibly. He's under a lot of pressure, and I think he needs to step up to the challenge. I don't necessarily want to put it out there that he's going to be getting a pick, but he needs to have a big game. He needs to not have any penalties. He needs to just show the tight coverage. He needs to be a shutdown corner for this game at least. It's a big game for him to show out. And I think that hopefully, I think he's going to play well. I think he's going to do something noteworthy that we're talking about how well he did.
You know where that Amik, do you know where that came from? That I don't know if it was a tweet that you saw or whatever, but that was Dan Campbell said that in 97.
Yeah.
So when I started thinking about that, it's interesting because if you notice, we've been playing a lot more 3 linebacker sets. So Amik's snaps have been pretty low. And I think they're we need to get him on the field. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a situation, if there's a series where they just have Amik play outside corner and Terrion takes that off. If we're going to play, 3 linebackers, and this may be that week to have that because of the team that we're playing. They don't have a lot of flashy wide receivers. They're not, not overly scared of any weapons that they have on the offensive side of the ball. So maybe the week to do that, and does Amik take one series for DJ Reed and then one series for Terrion, and that gives Amik, more reps, gets him out there, and then also gives our top corners a rest during the game. It's possible.
Right. And that maybe it's not even entire drives. Maybe he's just coming out and they're swapping in and out. They're shuffling around a little more. Mm-hmm. What do you think that says about the, defensive coordinator? Shep obviously was a linebacker. He likes having the linebackers out there. And then, seasons previous, we had AG, who was a defensive back, and he liked having the nickel. He liked moving the safeties around. That's just funny how that turned out.
Yep. Well, I not that I don't like our cornerback room. I think our defensive backs are really good too, but our linebackers are playing really well since the first week. The first week was a little rough, but they've been playing pretty well. And I kind of expect that with, Shep taking over. He thinks, I'm sure he thinks as a defense from a linebacker's point of view, because that's the position they used to play. And he kind of designs things with that in mind. And he also coached that unit, he coached those same players. So he knows what they're capable of, how that room operates. And he probably has a lot of confidence in that room. So he's, going to trust his guys to be on the field. They can keep shutting Lamar Jackson down. I'm going to keep trusting that,
Right.
Did a good job. All right. Why don't you hit us with your, let's go over to the Grit Guarantee.
It's time for the Grit Guarantee.
All right, Jacob, I'm going to let you go first.
All right. My Grit Guarantee for this week, I'm going to say that Jared Goff throws for 250 plus yards. 250 plus. So the Browns held Jordan Love and the Packers to 125 pass yards. And then the week before that against the Ravens had 207 yards. Lamar had 207 yards passing. So I'm going to say Goff breaks 250 in this one. The Browns have a stingy run defense. Hopefully Goff can spread the ball around, prevent them from crashing in. Complimentary football in this one, but I'm going to say that Goff gets 250.
All right. I'm not going super bold on this one, and you can make me fun of me for it, but the Lions
Jason's
are going to hold.
guarantee is that there's going to be a football game.
There will be. Yes. I guarantee that I will be at the game and cheering. No, I am going to say the Lions hold the Browns to less than 14 points in this game.
Okay, that's good.
So I know it's kind of cop out with this offense, but no garbage time touchdowns. This team's too proud. They're not going to let that happen. I think that it could be a low scoring game. What is the over under on this game, Jacob?
I don't have that in front of me right now, actually.
Why don't you look that up? And
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I'm excited to go to the stadium. Coming off this big win from the Ravens, it's going to be loud. Being close to Cleveland, it'll be interesting to see how many Cleveland fans are at the stadium. They tend to cross travel. The tickets are really expensive, so I don't know if that's going to cut people down. But I know for a fact, like one of my old professors is a Cleveland fan, and he's got a Lions fan buddy, and he's going up to the game. So I'm sure there's situations where there's people with season tickets. They're friends with people from, Ohio, and for whatever reason, they bring a fan from the opposing team into our stadium. But I still expect it to be crazy loud. They announced the offense in the first game, week 2 against the Bears. This will be the first time they announce Aiden since his injury. And so I'm expecting it to be very loud. And so we'll see how it goes. You got the over-under on it?
Yes, over-under. So the Lions right now are favored by 9.5 points, and the over-under is at 44.5.
I'd love for Lions to just hit that on their own. That'd be
right,
awesome.
exactly,
But,
right.
Be like what when you said the under and the Lions hit 52 on the Bears. So yeah, it'd be interesting. But it might be a defensive battle, and I just obviously trust our offense a lot more than I trust theirs. So as long as we do our keys of victory, hold on to the ball, be careful, be smart. And I like your idea of like Dan Campbell being a little more conservative. Go for the field goal, get the for sure points in this situation, just because, that might be just enough. You can get it to 2 scores. You might be enough to win this.
Right. Get the wiggle room, take the points.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Trust it. All right. Let's head out of that section and go to Grit Picks.
Grit Picks.
So we each went 2-1 last week. My overall season record is 7-4. I'm dominating you at 6-5. Dominating is the correct term. Jacob, shut up. Thursday
I just want to point out that the Isaac Tesla, I did not know that was counting towards our overall season total. I thought that was for fun. But because I was wrong and you were right, now it's going to count for the season record.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to matter when the season's over. You're still going to lose, but I just thought that was funny that you did that. So you could keep a lead for one more week.
Okay.
Sorry, continue.
Yes. Okay. Buffalo at Miami. We both picked Buffalo. That game was obviously closer than what we expected. You kind of predicted that. You thought it was going to be a little bit closer, but no points for being kind of right. And Sunday Night Football, you were right and I was wrong. I picked the Giants, and now there's a quarterback change. That Russell Wilson just looked absolutely dreadful in that game. I will say that I'm not impressed with the Chiefs at all from what I've seen so far this year. Their defense is still good. Their offense is sputtering. Travis Kelce looks like a shell of himself. So whether this is going to be his last year, he's going to get married to Taylor Swift and live off podcast money from now on.
He should have retired
billions of dollars. Yeah. Been off and just got married like right then, do the Super Bowl, get married, and right in the end zone. And then we, like Jacob already said, Isaac Tesla, we don't pick the Lions game. So if the Lions are in primetime, we pick something, something interesting for the game, whether an over or under, something that we're going to try to pick different on. That was at least my goal in this section, because if we had did the over under, we both would have picked the over. So it's going to be a different thing for each Lions game that's in prime time. But this time said Isaac Tesla over under 1.5 catches. He had 1 in the first 2 games. Decided to go 1.5. Jacob did over. I did under. 2 targets, no catches. So that's how we've come with our record totals. Let's move on to this week. There's 4 games that we're picking. It's another one of those double Monday night football games that we are not huge fans of, but it is what it is. I think this one is the games overlap too. I think that they like overlap. Like I think they only start like an hour apart or something like that. I think.
That's the worst. At least last week they had the West Coast game where you could watch them both.
Maybe this one's in Denver, so maybe I'm wrong about that. But I I saw the time.
One of them's at 7:15, the other one's at 8:15.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They're like an hour apart. So it's
dumb.
It's really dumb. So you can't even watch both games. So first game is Seattle Seahawks favored. At least when I don't know if the lines changed, but when I wrote this yesterday, it was 1.5 points, and they are going to Arizona. Looks like I'm up first. I'm taking Arizona in this one. I know Seattle's favored. I think Arizona, being at home, they're gonna win this one.
Stupid. So we're already changing on the first one here. So this is where I catch you. So I'm going Seahawks. Both teams are 2-1 right now. The difference being the Seahawks have a top 5 offense with Sam Darnold. They have a top 3 defense. They played really well against the Steelers. They had Aaron Rodgers struggling. That was awesome. They destroyed the Saints last week. The Cardinals, though, the defense looks kind of improved, but the offense is still not there. Cardinals just lost to Mac Jones and the 49ers. They won by 1 score against the Saints. They won by 1 score against the Panthers. 2 teams that are not even close to sniffing playoff contention. So I've got the Seahawks winning, and I actually was surprised the line was only 1.5. But people like you betting on the Cardinals here.
That's right. I still think the Cardinals are going to win. I don't care what you said. You had some.
They got some injuries on defense and everything too. So we're going to find out.
Why are you researching so much? Shut up. All right. Packers. Packers favored 6.5 at the Cowboys. Big injury. CeeDee Lamb's going to be out for the Cowboys. They got Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know if he's going to suit up this week. Micah Parsons goes back to Dallas. You're first on this one. Who are you picking?
Yeah, it's got to be weird for the Cowboys. Like, it's just so soon, right? It's been less than a month since Micah Parsons got traded. They had all that stuff right away where it was like maybe he wasn't a favorite in the locker room. Very weird for that. The Cowboys got handled by the Bears last week, though. CD's out. The injuries are piling up on them for defense also. Teron Diggs, I know Deron Bland is hurt. It's just not looking good for the Cowboys. I'm going to be rooting very hard for the Cowboys to pull this one out. But especially with the Packers coming off a loss to the Browns, I think that kind of woke them up to where they're going to be trying to play their best football. So I'm going to go Green Bay in this one.
Yeah, I have to pick Green Bay as well. I don't like doing it, but I just don't see any way that Dallas pulls this one out. But I'll be glad to be wrong on this one. All right, the first Monday night game. My brother is actually flying down to this game, Jacob. It's the Jets versus the Dolphins. So my brother, like your son, is a Dolphins fan, and they're going to the Florida Keys, and they kind of picked this week because the Dolphins are down there, so they're going to go the game. So I talked to him today, and he hasn't got tickets yet. He's still waiting on there, but he told me the prices that he could get tickets for.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah, so Upper Bowl with fees. What if I told you $65, would you go over or under for Upper Bowl seats?
It's funny because $65, $65 won't get you in the Upper Bowl for the preseason of the Lions game.
I know.
So I'll say under. Is it under 65?
It is $25. He said he could get Upper Bowl with fees for $25. Lower Bowl, $45. Lower Bowl on the visitor. He's on the visitor side, not the Dolphin side, the visitor side. Which I've been to the Dolphin Stadium. The visitor side, if you're going to like a 1:00 game, is dead sun. It is like so hot over there, especially obviously this time of year. But it's the game's, like you said, at 7:00. So I think he'll either be in shade or shortly after the game starts, he'll be in shade. But $25 visitor side, you could get tickets to this 0-3 versus 0-3 Monday Night Football matchup. Jets at Dolphins. I'm up first. AG's getting his first win. I'm going with the Jets on this one.
Okay. We're differing on this one too. Both teams are 0-3. One of them is going to be 0-4, and it's going to be a huge divisional loss in prime time. it's huge for both of these teams. The Jets have had a couple really close losses. The Dolphins just can't seem to stop anybody. They keep having turnovers in the worst possible parts of these games. I actually think this is going to be a better game than it looks on paper. Dolphins showed they still had some fight left against Buffalo. You know, the difference maker for me, the Jets might not have Sauce Gardner. Quincy Williams is hurt. Justin Fields is hurt. The Dolphins are playing at home. I think the odds are just stacked against the Jets in this one, so I am going to pick the Dolphins here.
All right. Look at you looking at injury reports and everything. I don't have time for that crap. It's
staying in tune with the whole league.
Yeah, you're the man. I look up to you. I want to be you when I grow up. Cincinnati Bengals at Denver Broncos. Broncos are favored by 7.5. You're first on this one, Jacob. You're picking Browning and the Bengals, right?
Yeah, this was not particularly hard for me. The Bengals got embarrassed by the Vikings. It's only week 3, but they're just reeling right now as a 2-1 team. They don't have Joe Burrow, and the only key to winning for that team is to outscore everybody. You take Burrow out, and you're just not going to be able to do that with Browning at quarterback. And especially with a defense like the Broncos, they're playing in Denver. Denver's 1-2 right now. All 3 games were close losses, so they, I think Denver's just going to be attacking the Bengals relentlessly. Yes. So I definitely am picking the Broncos to win.
Yeah, I got the Broncos too. Will the Broncos have a perfect rated defender on PFF like the Vikings did? Was it Isaiah Rodgers? What's his name? What was his?
Isaiah Rodgers, the one that returned the fumble and the pick six.
Yeah, pick 6 and return fumble, 2 touchdowns.
The pick 6 was a tip, so that was somebody else tipped that ball and he got it. But that fumble, he's the one that punched that out, and then he picked it up and ran the rest of the way. So great play from him.
Don't give the Vikings too much praise. We don't like that around these parts. But yeah, the Broncos are just going to wipe the floor with the Bengals. Cincinnati continues, like you said, when you're an offensive team and then your quarterback goes out, oh man, that's bad news for the Bengals. All right, Jacob.
Put all their eggs in one basket, and then it just came crumbling down. So
it did, yeah. Nothing on that.
If they pull it out
side
against the Broncos, then the Broncos are going to be the ones with a lot of question marks, and they're going to be reeling next week. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either. All right. Tell me what you're doing for the Browns game on Sunday. Is the plan? Are you at home with the boys watching, or are you going out? What's the plan?
I do not ever go out and watch these games. I am at home. I'm fully locked in watching with my kids. Especially with a game like Cleveland where, we're so close to Cleveland. We know Browns fans. It wouldn't be hard for me to find some Browns fans, like got family members or whatever. I don't want you here while I'm watching the game. I don't want any distractions. Nobody's talking. Yeah. So I'm fully locked in here. I know you're planning on being at the game, right? You're going to cause some more false starts.
Yeah, exactly. All by myself. No, I will be there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be loud. So my question for you is, so you saw me cheering, that short that's out there. It's been seen by 27,000 people, seeing my guttural scream. Have you ever had an outburst like that at a game? Or what's your go-to? Like, are you like a yes and a fist pump, or, how?
There's a yes, let's go. There's a lot of let's go. I say that a lot. It's definitely toned down for me. Michigan games, I think, are more so than the Lions. Lions, okay. I'm watching. I'm fully tuned in. I'm excited, absolutely. But Michigan is one where it's okay, that's one where you jump up and I'm let's go, high fiving, So I'm excited for the Lions, but I don't let it get to that level anymore. I try to tone it down.
Okay. Yeah, that was obviously my kids get super excited. Well, you saw Bradley. I mean, Bradley chucked that football at the wall.
He had the best reaction.
Yeah, he made
that video.
Yeah. Preston loves that video. He just thinks he thinks that's hilarious that I get so pumped up about it. And what's funny is that Preston could be sometimes the most emotional of us, but he was the calmest in that video. So that was that was interesting. But yeah, I don't really get like that at the stadium, but at home I feel pretty comfortable. And I didn't even remember about the ring camera capturing that moment. It was Sarah thought about it. So like, it wasn't even in my head. And, to think that I need to tone it down. I was just glad that no swear words were blurted out, that I could actually use, that video. I don't tend to, like, especially with the kids around, like sometimes like under my breath, like especially at the stadium, Jared Goff throw a pick or something, and it's under my breath, something will come out, but the boys still catch it. And they're like, Dad. Meanwhile, the person 2 rows in front of us is screaming out like obscenities like crazy. Like, it's at a football game, but I try to tone it down for my kids. But I was so excited in that moment that when he punched that ball out, that it was just like this emotional release. And Sarah likes that I, do the guttural scream towards the boys, and then I do it at the TV. Like, I pause for a minute, and then it's another outburst comes out. Sarah just finds that hilarious. But yeah,
I was wondering at what point you were like, let me break out the Ring camera and see.
Sarah did. Sarah got it because, I think what made it, I think at some point I said, Sarah, I was like, because we were all joking around, like that was like an over the top moment or whatever. I wasn't embarrassed by it, but it was just kind of a funny family thing. And I was like, you should just record me, because there's plenty of people that post those videos, and they record it. But I also feel like when someone's holding up a camera, like, either you throw too much emotion in it and it seems fake, or like you're subdued because you don't want to like overreact. Like that,
it's hard to be authentic in the moment.
Right. Like you're authentic to a point, and then you realize, like, when you start going crazy, that there's a camera there. I don't know if you noticed, like, one of the comments said, I'd be embarrassed if I was that excited. The comment was towards me. I'd be embarrassed if I was that excited at a game I wasn't playing in. And my comment back was very simple. Like, I'm at home. I feel comfortable with my family. And if this is the thing that you chose to complain about today, I'm sorry that you're not having a very good day.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. Why does it matter? Like, is it ridiculous to like have that strong of emotion? Maybe, but I know from comments that everybody has said, they're like, that may have happened at my house. People.
Right.
Whatever.
Do you say so? I mean, because when I'm at the game, when you're in the environment, I'm definitely doing that, or I'm much louder, and that's when you're high-fiving the people next to you and everything. But you don't really do that much when you're there at the game?
I'm not like that guttural scream, like probably not like that.
That's when it's acceptable, though.
Yeah, but and maybe it is like that, but it's hard to, when it's so loud in there, you don't really,
you can't tell how loud you are.
You can't even hear like how loud you are. Like, I know I'm screaming at the top of my lungs when the defense or a third down play or whatever. I mean, it's just hard to know. And plus I have noise canceling earbuds in. So it kind of muffles a lot of the noise. Because I'm not going home with a headache. I've been like physically sick after going to a game if I don't wear,
you go home without the voice,
some sort of ear protection. So yeah, I have like earbuds that cancel out the noise. I could hear, it's great because I could hear the announcer like clear as day. The kids next to me, I can hear their voice, but it just takes down that buzz from the noise. And then when I take them out at the end, I am totally hearing normal. So. But yep, be at the game. It's going to be fun. It's going to be loud. It's going to be great. I'll be texting you, trying to ruin things. I'll also be texting you, be like, "Did you get that play up?" Like, right, your boss. Oh man, yep. Keep tuned to our Twitter or our YouTube page. We got tons of shorts going up. Been doing some comedy shorts, just doing regular other shorts, and then some clips that we put up there. I do an injury update. Usually on Fridays, I'll do an injury update. Thursday or Friday, just depends on the injury report when it comes out. But I'll do like an injury report and kind of update, because this is we record this on Wednesday. We'll have 2 more injury reports, and I'll usually put up like our thoughts on that. I usually do that kind of solo. Can't trust Jacob to show up, so.
Yeah. Not all of us just get to sit around at home all day and pretend to work.
Yeah. Well, when you're 45 and no one wanted to be with you anymore, they send you home and they say, do your job at home.
And then you annoy people online instead of in person.
I do. I love it. It's my thing. Big troll online. That's my game. All right, man. Any other parting shots or anything?
No, man. Excited for Sunday.
All right. I am too, man. It's going to be great. Still riding high from Monday, and we're going to head right into Sunday and keep those good feelings going. think let's just send it right now. He's Jacob. I'm Jason. Let's go Lions.